seen a video of Decade saying that he has an educated guess that the Bestial Monsters may come out very, very soon in June. I think it's around June 5th, right? But what exactly do the Bystials do? And how good are the Bestial Monsters? If you guys didn't know, I'm TheCaliEffect, Master Duel Cali here, and I do not only Master Duel content, but TCG content and everything in between. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to know about more content. So, Bestial one-on-one with TheCaliEffect. Basically, the Bestial Monsters, how you can think of them, is like they're buff, chunkus, DD crows. They can special summon themselves to the side of the field by banishing one light or dark monster from either player's graveyard. And the cool thing about it is that they can be activated during either player's turn if your opponent has a monster on the field. Literally, this could be the answer to the tier limit deck, but it could also be another problem too. The good thing about this is that the Bestial Monsters will also be improving in making some decks powerful. We'll talk about them a little later, as well as making some other decks a lot weaker, hopefully tier limit. So the most important Bestial that you probably should learn about is Bestial Magnum Hut. I have a strong feeling that this card is going to be an ultra rare. Bestial Magnum Hut is easily the most important Bestial monster because not only will it allow you to search other Bestial monsters from your deck to your hand or graveyard to your hand, it also can search you any dragon monster. That means some of the most powerful cards in the game, like Blue Eyes White Dragon. Yo, searching Blue Eyes White Dragon. But in all seriousness, some really powerful dragon monsters like Chaos Emperor Dragon of Armageddon, Chaos Dragon Leveilleur, Black and White Dragons, and of course, the famous Rocket cards all become a lot easier to get into. A lot of times, if you're just playing a Bestial engine, which should consist of a maximum amount of copies of Bestial Magnum Hut that you're allowed to play, you're going to play at least one copy of Bestial Druidsworm. Now, Druidsworm is really, really good because it allows you, just like all of the other Bestials, to be able to quick summon it to your side of the field. But when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, it allows you to target a special summon monster on the field and then send it to the graveyard, which is really, really cool. It pretty much means that you get a 2500 attack, huge, chunky boy that can get rid of one of your opponent's special summon monsters, whether if you link or synchro with it, or if your opponent decides to get rid of it. Now, those are the must-play Bestial monsters in just about any deck if you want to counter tier limits, if they still are alive after this upcoming Forbidden List. But if you are playing like a Dragon deck or a Chaos deck, or maybe even a Despia deck that wants to include more Bystials, these are some cards you should strongly consider as well. Bestial Lubellion, in my mind, is also going to be an ultra rare. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. This card is, oh my god, it's godly. It allows you to discard itself from the hand to the graveyard to be able to add a Bestial monster from your deck to your hand, and then it can tribute any level 6 or higher dark dragon monster on the field to summon it to the side of the field, and then it can place a branded spell or trap card to the spell or trap card zone. The Bestial Lubellion is crazy strong, but only in decks that are dedicated to being able to use it. Keep in mind, it is a light dragon monster that can't be normal summoned or set, so it's searchable through cards like Chaos Space, and it is a light monster for you to be able to banish with your Bystials. Bestial Sireneer is just like the other Bystials when it comes to summoning conditions, but when it's sent to the graveyard, no matter what, it can send a Bystial or a branded card from your deck to the graveyard. This is huge if you're playing a deck like Branded. You can send cards like Branded Retribution to be able to get other branded spell or trap cards from your graveyard to your hand, but you can also just send more Bestial monsters, which can provide fuel for your other Bestial monsters, and Lubellion, which can summon itself to the side of the field. Bestial Baldrake may seem like one of the best Bestial monsters in the game because it allows you to tribute another dragon monster on your field to banish an opponent's monster, but I'm telling you right now, it's okay. As long as Bestial Druidsworm doesn't get banned, this is a card that if for some reason it's a higher rarity, you only need one and you can decraft this card. Now, there is a more powerful Bestial monster than the Bestial Lubellion. It's actually called the Bestial Albalos, and knowing Konami, this will probably be an ultra rare too. This card is, it's a card. You can only summon it by tributing 2 Bestial monsters And then when it's summoned this way in the monster zone, you get to negate all Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, and Link monsters. And then if its face-up card leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can banish all face-down cards in their extra deck face-up until your opponent's in phase. I can tell you guys from a TCG perspective, you never play this card. It's just not good. The two most important cards that we're going to be getting to be able to use the effect of Sireneer and Bestial Lubellin for is Branded Regained and Branded Beast. Branded Regained says if a light or dark monster is banished, you can target one of those banished monsters, place it to the bottom of your deck, and draw a card. It's during either player's turn and it's once per turn, but also when your opponent summons a monster, you can special summon a Bestial monster to your side of the field. That means if you haven't used Druidsworm, you can summon Druidsworm back, you can summon Sireneer back, and you can summon Magnemite and gain all of their effects. Branded Beast says once per turn during the main phase, if you control a Bestial monster, you contribute one dragon monster to destroy a card your opponent controls. Then during the end phase, if you have a branded continuous spell or trap card in your graveyard, you get to just place it face up to your side of the field. The really cool thing about the Bestial strategy, especially if you're running a complete package, is that if you have Sireneer on the field and Lubellion in the graveyard, you can tribute the Sireneer for Lubellion, place the Branded Beast to your side of the field, use the Sireneer to send Regained, and then you'll get the Regain back because of Branded Beast effect, allowing you to be able to get a Tribute Destruction, a Summon, and a draw when you banish a light or dark monster. I highly doubt that you guys will get Bestial Dispeter. It is a Synchro monster that's really good. It allows you to special summon banished monsters to your side of the field and can negate or destroy monsters depending on which banished cards you shuffle back into the deck. It's really, really good, but overall it's just a great card. Now, a couple of cliff notes for you guys. The Bestial strategy is extremely good when there are a whole bunch of light decks and a whole bunch of dark decks into the format. Take, for example, Tier Limit, a deck that is completely comprised of dark monsters. If your opponent activates a Tier Limit monster in the graveyard to fuse while having a monster on the field, you can actually activate a Bestial monster in response to banish that monster in the graveyard, and they won't be able to fuse, and you get a Bestial. But ironically, the Bestial monsters also work with Tier Limit extremely well, too. Bestial monsters just so happen to be level 6, and if they summon Diviner of Herald and turn it into a 4 or a 6, they can Synchro into 10, or they can Exceed into Beatrice. And if light and dark decks are heavy into the format and Bestials are everywhere, the Bestials actually make the Exosister strategy really good because the Bestial monsters activating moving cards out of the graveyard will trigger those Exosisters to summon. Some other extremely good decks that Bestial work very well with is Chaos Dragon Link. That is a very, very powerful strategy. I actually used it in my last regional top in the TCG. Swordsoul is actually incredibly good with Bystials. Magnemite can search Destrudo, which allows you to be able to Synchro into Yazi to get your plays off. Assault Synchron and Excel Stardust are actually pretty good with the Bestial monsters. A Synchro Bestial deck is really popular in the TCG, though with the Adventure Engine being not necessarily big in the Master Duel, I don't think it's going to be amazing, but something really good to think about. Now, some decks that actually have an extremely good strength against the Bestial monsters, I would easily say Vernal Sylph Madolche. That is a crazy deck that doesn't use any light or dark monsters, meaning essentially the Bestial monsters would go useless, and the Ishizu cards can actually shuffle in the Bestial monsters' targets, which will prevent them from being summoned. Adamantipator is also another Yu-Gi-Oh deck that doesn't use a lot of light and dark monsters, so it can pretty much just skirt the Bestial effects and summon some pretty powerful boards. While I would say that Mathmech almost completely gets destroyed by the Bystials if we're still in a tier 0 matchup, decks like Marine Cess are extremely good because they don't play any light or dark monsters, and Floowandereeze is still really good because it doesn't even need the graveyard. Oh, and it also doesn't special summon, so there's that. Now, what cards would you exactly use to stop the Bestial monsters is a really good question. Ghost Bell in Haunted Mansion prevents the Bestial monster from being summoned because it does banish a monster in the graveyard for effect. Now keep in mind, they'll be able to have that Bestial monster in their hand for the next turn, but it could stop the momentum of play. I wouldn't recommend DD Crow because DD Crow would banish only your opponent's cards, and you also put a dark monster in your graveyard if you're not playing a dark deck, so it's, yeah. Psyframe Gear Gamma is phenomenal to stopping the Bystials. The only one that will be able to activate its secondary effect is Sireneer because it's still sent to the graveyard. And that's all the information that I have for you guys on Bystials that are coming out very, very soon. I'm actually really excited to be playing them inside of my dragon deck. And if you guys want to catch me on stream, I stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I hope to see you there.